maybe I did something wrong.
She's an abuse victim.
But she cheated.
Okay, so we found this clip on Threads by a creator named Hope Giselle 1. We're going to react to it and tell you our thoughts.
Cassie isn't just fighting the court case, she's fighting all of you. The apologists, the but why didn't she leave crew, the women trying to sound like men to win proximity to power, the men who are too scared of losing their idols that they would rather believe that a woman survived 10 years of violence for fun than believe that a powerful man could be that evil. And that's why it keeps happening. No matter how many survivors show up with evidence, bruises, and receipts, y'all still side with power. You side with the, but it's just hearsay and she's probably lying. Meanwhile, Cassie testified under oath about sex trafficking, abuse, drugging, coercion, freak-offs, about being hit, controlled, and watched for years, and y'all are still asking why she didn't bleed. Some of you all have never left a group chat when it got toxic, but you have the nerve to question a girl who was 19 when she met a 30-year-old billionaire. Survival doesn't always look heroic. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like staying until you can finally breathe. And even when that moment comes, y'all still make us fight to be believed. It's about every woman who watches this and realizes that if it happened to her, y'all would act the same goddamn way. And until you realize, accept, and honor that, I'll wait.
Great points that are being made. Is this tendency with like celebrities or cases against certain criminals that just make it to the public? She gave a specific name to it. She was like, it goes through the public trial. And that's true. And I often align with that. People judge a lot, oftentimes not necessarily aligning on the correct side because they like their idol, because there can be like many reasons to it. I think she raises a great point that it makes it twice as difficult for the victims.
I definitely used to victim blame, was coming from a place that lacked empathy. And it's almost like you're just coming up with an excuse for the lack of information that you have. And I mean, when we even first got into this case, we started talking about Cassie, and I started looking into the actual history behind things and the timeline. And I was like, well, doesn't that mean you're coming up with a reason of why it should have happened in the first place? That's the part I think people have difficulty with. You're justifying the wrongdoing.
You're finding reasons and rationales as of to how it could have been avoided. And it's like, that's not the point. It happened. The only person to blame for it happening is the perpetrator.
I've seen some people talk about, oh yeah, well, she cheated. She was doing this. She made money off of the deal. I looked into all of it. These are separate issues, and you should treat them as separate issues. But let's be honest, the only issue that people are actually talking about, the terrible things that he actually did, that's the only conversation relevant. So you bringing up her cheating sounds like
in what world does taking a person as a punching ball, isn't it?
It sounded like you said punch bowl.
Punching ball. That's not the French way, I think. Punching ball. In what world is it any reason to hit someone? In what world is it okay to hit someone and to be violent to someone because they cheated on you? The same people will tell you, yeah, but what is the case with men? It's no reason either. Like you said, it's a separate problem. Cheating is a problem in a relationship that should lead to whatever outcome, whether they want to find solutions or to leave or to separate. That's a complete separate problem.
Like, two things can be true at the same time. While she is a victim, she didn't have to necessarily be an innocent person, right? Those two can be true at the same time.
She's an abuse victim.
But she cheated.
George Floyd was a victim of police brutality.
But he had a record. Charlie Kirk was a victim of gun violence.
But he was a racist. Why do we tend to victim blame?
That's a vast question that I think goes back a long, long way. Like, to answer directly the actual why probably has a lot to do with history and the status of women before, and the fact that because they didn't have the same rights, because this, because that, they probably were not taken as seriously. The reason behind is the history of women not having their word taken seriously throughout history, because they didn't have any legal status for the longest. They didn't have any human status for the longest.
Yeah.
You know, like, they were officially property of the father, then property of the husband, like, until they actually had their own independence. Like, I think these things somehow seep through today, even though it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
But like she says, there's countless cases. Like I've been watching so many interviews of victims where women say, like, I did go to the police and I was not taken seriously. What were you wearing? Because in their mind, maybe you were causing it a little bit. No, you're not causing it. And if you think that, you have some work to do. I shouldn't have to justify whatever I was wearing after that thing happened. There's this thing where a lot of people don't take women seriously when they come out in public and just speak their truth and just say what they have to say. They will tend to be doubted from the get-go.
So you're saying they're discredited from the start. Imagine being an actual victim to something, running to the police and being like, help, help, Michael Myers is chasing me. And they're like, but what did you do to incite him to get to that point? Why did he stab you? Of course, there should be some questions that are asked, but then you start to get question on top of question.
We just need to clarify. They who? Who them? Where who? Who's who?
And when you lead with discrediting someone, putting the person who potentially did the stabbing into the seat of the rational, and it's like both people should be questioned. And even outside of these sort of extreme discrediting positions, there's cases where people are looking at everything in hindsight, right? They're looking at everything having had the full picture. When you have the full picture in mind and you understand now that P. Diddy was a manipulator, he was a person who was emotionally abusing individuals, physically abusing, a complete narcissist. I agree that those things shouldn't, like, you should draw a hard line at those points when you see that in your relationship. Like, that should be the point to walk away. But for her, maybe she just saw it as a small thing and she was just like, maybe I did something wrong.
It was so new in her learning journey. She was what, 19, 18, 19? 19. It's like saying to someone that maybe had a couple of high school relationships, they should know it all about red flags to find in a relationship. How ridiculous is that? She probably went from like high school sweetheart saying red flags from high school level to like a full-on grown man that had like so much more experience and so much more understanding of what relationships should be. You probably assume as a 19-year-old, God, he probably knows better. Therefore, if he says that, if it does that, that's probably how relationships should be, right? Because surely he knows better. How old was he? 35, 40 years old?
I think he was in his late 30s.
Surely he knows, right, how a relationship should be. Who am I to know at 19? If he says it goes like that, probably that's the way it should be, and my guts tell me something that's wrong. Sorry, one last thing is it's ridiculous to think with the eyes of someone, because usually these comments like she should have left, blah blah, come from 30-year-old people, maybe late 20s or whatever, that have already so much more understanding. It's just very judgmental and very unrealistic, most importantly, for someone that age that grew up to understand relationships from this angle.
Basically, victimhood does not turn these people into saints. But let me be very clear. Being flawed or having done some wrong things in the past does not invalidate their victimhood. Period.
Separate issues. Again, completely separate issues.
Ever hear, you ever hear 2 wrongs don't make a right?
Yeah.
Well, 2 rights don't make a wrong.